Thanks everybody on this Friday afternoon for joining. I'm on the West Coast, so it's still afternoon. I just finished eating lunch, and it's still got a long day left for me here at in my office. But for those of you on the East Coast or in the Central, it looks like it's almost quitting time. But thank you all for jumping into my session, the last session. Very good competition on the other side. If you want to learn about SQL views and stuff like that, I know Tim Rodman's running a pretty cool session over there as well. But um, today for me, I wanted to kind of just talk about some of. There's so many things in Acumatica 24R1 and 24R2 that are coming, and then of course they gave me a half hour, so I don't obviously have a lot of time to go through everything, but I'm going to go through some of the things that I really like with 24R1 and R2. And so, first things first, a couple of housekeeping items here. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Chris Joco. I'm the Principal Solutions Architect for the Acumatica team at DSD Business Systems. We're a Acumatica VAR in Southern California, out of San Diego, California. And I have actually been in the ERP space for over 24 years. I started my career off at Epicor Software in support, and I moved over to Sage when they used to be across the street from each other in Irvine. And I built my career from there. I was a Sage 100 consultant at a few Sage 100 VARs, and probably back in 2008, or I'm sorry, not 2008, that's when it came out. Probably around 2012, 2013 is when I found out about Acumatica, and I have been working with Acumatica ever since. And so my primary role today at DSD is really just to work with our sales managers, our business development managers, in showing prospective customers about Acumatica. So that's why I'm so passionate about my session today, really just because these are some of the features that allow us to gain new business from these prospects that are looking to move and migrate to Acumatica. So if you're not on Acumatica yet, maybe these are some things that you are thinking might kind of sway your vote. But there's also some things that if you are on Acumatica and maybe you're not on 24R1 yet, these might be some features that you might want to consider when you are moving to 24R1 or 24R2, whichever way you kind of fit. Fun facts about myself. I love golf. I, like most Americans, have probably picked up golf during COVID. That's kind of when I got addicted to it. So I've been playing golf for a few years now, and I try to sneak out as much as I can to play golf. But my other favorite hobby, as I was talking to Morgan about, is really my dog. And I'm a victim of probably having more pictures of my dog on my phone than my wife. So that's unfortunate there. But this is just my little guy. His name is Chase, and he is kind of my pride and joy. So, definitely kind of a guilty pleasure here that I probably think I'd be stalking him if he was human. Let's go ahead and talk about thanking some of our sponsors for acuCONNECT here. These are some of our sponsors that are part of all of our sessions. They're all sponsoring our different sessions. Here's some charter sponsors of ours and some premium sponsors of ours. And without the help of these sponsors, acuCONNECT, this is how we kind of live and breathe and how we continue to have these educational series for all of our Acumatica customers, users, ISVs, all of that. It just extends that community out just like Acumatica has their community. Special shout out to my sponsor for this particular session, Avalara, worry-free automated tax compliance. They were gracious enough to be my sponsor for this session. So I want to thank Jessica and their team for sponsoring my session today. And with that, let's talk about some of these things. I was like, how many things can I fit into the next half hour or less even, you know? So I really just want to focus on a couple of items here. You know, for those of you that don't know, in 23R2, they teased this particular module, but it was fully functional in 24R1, and that was distribution requirements planning. And we'll talk a little bit about that when I kind of cut over to my laptop. Another feature that came out in 24R1 that I think is huge is utilizing generic inquiries as data sources for another generic inquiry. So we'll talk about that. We'll show how that kind of works here inside of Acumatica. And then some other features like prepayment invoices in AR, making it easier to add multiple people to an approval map. This was huge for me. I get a lot of requests for this, even when I'm doing demonstrations of Acumatica. And then some other things here with like closure notes from a CRM support case, and a newer feature in 24R2 of volume pricing and quantity rules being able to move over from Acumatica into Shopify. So with that, let's get started here. So everybody, I think I'm looking at my screen here. I believe I can see, you should be able to see my screen here in Acumatica. If you haven't already voted, please let me know what version of Acumatica you're on. If you're on 23R1, 23R2, if you're already on 24R1, or hopefully you're taking advantage of some of these things that we're showing today. And if maybe you're in the R2 beta, or there's maybe some of you that are a little not wanting to tell us what version they are. Maybe they're on an older, unsupported version of Acumatica. So hopefully we could show you some things to kind of move that needle to get you to go to 24R1 or R2. All right. So let's start with kind of the big thing for me in 24R1 was the distribution requirements planning. When we had manufacturing edition, we always had MRP or material requirements planning. And that worked great. It looked at your bills of materials. It looked at open sales, your sales forecasts, your master production schedules. All of those things were part of manufacturing as in our material requirements planning. But we still had some of those needs, even if you didn't manufacture your own product. We needed to know if we were selling items, if we were a distributor, we needed to know, when do we need to buy more product? When do we need to maybe assemble some kits that we're putting together? Well, now with Acumatica, they've migrated that MRP functionality to just the distribution edition. And a new module that they introduced late 23R2, but officially for 24R1, was the dubbing of the inventory planning workspace. And if you are on the distribution edition, you can do distribution requirements planning. It gives you almost all of the same features that you would have in MRP, except for a master production schedule. So you can create your own forecasts within Acumatica. So if you know that you're selling a particular item over the next few months, you can build that sales forecast in. And just like with MRP, we can regenerate that inventory planning, and Acumatica can go out and do all those calculations, use your replenishment method settings that you already have set up inside of inventory, and really help you determine, when we look at our inventory planning display, really help us look at when do we need to purchase a particular item? What's our action by date? All of these things can be done now with DRP. And even if we have sales kits that we are selling or kit assemblies that we're selling, as long as we put those kit specifications together, we're able to even create kit assembly transactions directly from inventory planning or through distribution requirements planning. So for me, this is a game changer from a demo perspective. You know, we always had replenishment for Acumatica, but this just took replenishment to that next level. Cool. All right. The second thing that I really want to kind of show you, I wish I had time, and I'm kind of thinking, I think there was maybe another session that went over this, but again, it is one of my favorites. You know, in the past, when we created generic inquiries, if we needed information from so many places, we just had to add all those data sources together in the generic inquiry and do all these crazy linking to get the information that we need. And so now what Acumatica has done in 24R1 has given us the ability to use generic inquiries as a data source for another inquiry. So if I was creating, you know, here's my favorite GI, invoiced items. You know, if I wanted to use this invoiced items GI in another generic inquiry, so if I wanted to create another report, but I want all this information that I've put into my results grid in here, well, now when I create that new GI, rather than adding all of these particular tables or data sources in here, when I hit the add button and use the magnifying glass, I now have a tab for existing generic inquiries. So if I want to pull in my invoiced items GI, I can use that as a particular base. So this is, you know, to me, definitely game changer, because now I can use this as my base and write additional inquiries. And if you have tools, you know, if you're doing pivots or you're doing all kinds of other things, dashboards, now we can kind of, it's kind of that scenario where we would do maybe like a SQL view that we used to use in the past. Maybe we'd have to write a SQL view. Now I can kind of eliminate that SQL view and just start using a GI inside of another GI. So to me, when I look at kind of ranking some of those things there, those are kind of number one and number two for me as far as being able to do that within Acumatica. Cool. All right. Let's see here. Any questions or anything like that? Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. So number 3 is a new feature. The reason they put this out, I think, was more for customers that had VAT, and they needed to be able to, when they needed to do prepayments and get customers to prepay for certain items on a sales order, we need to be able to generate an invoice. And so in 24R2, Acumatica has given us the ability to now create prepayment invoices. So if we want to generate a document that adds all the items to the order, calculates the tax appropriately, or the VAT appropriately, we can now, within the sales orders or the AR invoice data entry screen, we can create a sales order and generate a prepayment invoice. So I have a sales order here that I've already created. The terms on this is a prepayment, 100% prepayment only. And when we get to our payments tab, we now have a function to create this prepayment invoice. And I'm doing my best to kind of look further and further in how I can expand this. I have a ISV that I work with that helps me create deposit invoices for projects. trying to see where the overlap is on those particular products. But from this standpoint here, I know I can generate a new prepayment invoice. It will take all of those items and taxes and freight, all of that pulls into this prepayment invoice, and then I can send this out via email to the customers so that they can take a look, they can pay that online. They can pay for it, send me a check, or if you have Paya or Nuvei, or you have Acumatica payments, you can, do click to pay or something like that, or even have them go online and make that payment through the online payment portals. So there's a lot of, I still haven't scratched the surface yet, but I thought this was very, very unique and something that I could utilize in a lot of places, even ourselves. When we generate sales orders, we may want to generate what we call sometimes pro forma invoices, things like that. So I am continuing to vet this out, especially since it's new for 24R2, and finding other use cases for it aside from, getting prepayments for VAT and stuff like that. So another item there that I really think is very powerful, especially that just came out on 24R2. Now, another feature that I wanted to, since we're on the topic of invoices, is for those of you that do approval workflows for yourselves, for your organization, maybe you're a consultant that works with a client that does, there may be multiple people that need to approve, and it doesn't even matter what order that they approve those particular invoices, AP bills, POs, it doesn't even matter, right? In 24R1, Acumatica has added the ability and made it easier to add multiple approvals to an approval map. And so for my AR invoice, I might need 3 people to approve my invoice. And I don't care if it goes to finance first, maybe it goes to the ops manager or the sales manager second. I just know I need 3. Well, if I have an approval map and I have that rule and I go to my rules actions here, before when we had the employee, I only had the ability to put 1 employee, or I had to generate a work group, but that means I got to finagle with the company tree, and maybe these folks don't even fit into the same department or work group. Well, now here in 24R1, enrolled into 24R2, is Acumatica gives us the ability, if we use an employee, that I can put multiple employees on that approval map. And then what it looks like when you're looking at that invoice, if I pull up this particular invoice, it's sitting in a pending approval status. When this order gets taken off of hold, it will naturally go into a pending approval status. And then when I look at my approvals, you'll just see all 3 of those approvals in there. And you can now see all of that. You can just, it will then eventually become balanced when all of those approvals are completed. So it's made it easier on the creating the approval map process. That's just one of those things that for me as a former consultant for Acumatica is like, hey, I just want it to be easy. I need to give the approval maps to somebody at the organization to maintain, and I want it easy for them to maintain the system as well. So another great feature here that Acumatica has put in to into the 24R1R2 series. All right. There have been a bunch of things that they've done in CRM. And for me, Acumatica CRM, whether you think that you need a CRM or you don't, Acumatica CRM does so much more than just customer relationship management, right? You can do support, of course. Salespeople can do opportunity tracking. Marketing can do lead, tracking, importing leads, all those kind of things. Sure, that's what you do for a traditional CRM. But the way that Acumatica, because it's within the infrastructure of Acumatica, we can use CRM as kind of our repository for any kind of question, right? Whether that's from the customers, whether it's from outsiders, whatever the case may be, we can track things in these cases. And because of our case classes, you can definitely segregate all of that information. So if I go into here and I go into my support cases within Acumatica, we already know we have the different case classes, whether it's this one's a billing question or a product support question, whatever the case may be. What I definitely like about these cases is that now you may just be an order entry company that you buy products and you sell them, but a customer might just call in and say, hey, I need to return this product. Well, with our cases, you can just take the cases, and then if I need to, I can generate return orders directly from here. I can generate service orders if you're a service management company. Acumatica can build, you can then even add anything else, any other actions to just let the case be where we collect all that data, and then we have actions that we can send out and say, hey, go do this and go return that. And then we keep track of all of those relations here. So we know exactly where that information is going. So we can always follow it from within Acumatica. Now in 24R1 and 24R2, we also have a way now to just close these things out, right? So if somebody calls in and had some questions regarding COVID-19, that's probably a weird thing there, but let's say they have a request regarding COVID-19 and getting an extension on their credit terms, AR can use these cases as well, and they can be like, nah, we're going to deny that. So in 24R1, they've added these closure notes. We could just say denied credit term extension. And then now we have a special tab. As we close, we have a special tab now that I can just quickly reference. I don't have to look at a list of activities and emails that have gone back and forth with this particular customer. I can just go straight to my closure notes and just get the kind of the end deal there. So again, just more productivity tools, ease of use tools that we can utilize in the system. All right, like I mentioned, I can go on and on and on. I wanted to talk about Amazon integration. That's available in 24R1. I want to talk about a lot of other features. When Amy came to me and said, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to do everything. I want to do e-commerce integration sessions. I want to do it all. There's so much that Acumatica has jam-packed into the system. But today I'll leave you with kind of one nugget that I think is huge. In 24R1, we gave the ability to send price lists over to Shopify. This used to be a big commerce thing only, but in 24R1, we were able to do B2B with Shopify, but we're also able to send those price lists over. But now in 24R2, we can actually send the quantity break pricing now over to Shopify. So this is a big one for me. Working through some clients that, they used to have multiple Shopify stores to be able to have different pricing for different styles of customers. And now we're able to consolidate a lot of that stuff. And now with 24R2, I'm able to send that volume pricing and those quantity break rules over to Shopify And so now in our commerce workspace, of Shopify stores here, in our commerce workspace, now as an entity, we do have those price lists that we're able to send over from Acumatica so that we can, again, make it easier, only one place to manage, and let Acumatica be that single source of truth. That was a lot in 25, 30 minutes. I am so happy that all of you joined my session today. I'm very happy about what I was able to show today in this time. But, again, if you guys ever need to get a hold of me, Chris Joco, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on DSD Inc.'s website. I'm readily available. I work with all kinds of folks anytime. I'll never turn anyone down. So just, reach out if you have any questions. You want to partner up on some things, and we'll go from there. And thank you guys. And thank you guys for joining acuCONNECT 2024. Hope to see you guys in the happy hour. Thanks, everyone.